Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Activize Connect series. We're your hosts, Ellie and Varnica, and we're so excited to continue this series where we connect with changemakers, leaders, and advocates who are shaping the world for the better. And today, we are truly honored to be joined by Indiana State Senator Andrea Hunley, who is a passionate advocate for education, equity, and community empowerment. Her work and leadership have inspired so many, and we can't wait to dive into her story and learn from her experiences. So, Senator, thank you so much for joining us today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, it's such an honor to be here with the both of you. Thank you so much for inviting me in. And I have so much respect for student journalists, I have to say. I was a high school English teacher, and then I was a principal in Indianapolis Public Schools for 11 years. And I just have mad respect for the work that you do in getting information out to the community and your dedication. So thank you.
So, the first question we have for you is what first inspired you to run for senator and kind of step into public service?
Yeah, well, I really didn't think that I would be able to run for office. In Indiana, it's a part-time job, and I was working full time and didn't think that I would even have the ability to run. I also thought that you needed to have a law degree to run for office because you're talking about policy and writing laws. And so I really didn't think it was something that was within reach for me. But as I was the school principal, I was working more and more on policy. And I was seeing all these different ways that my students were being involved and my students were advocating and that they were reaching out to lawmakers. And I thought, wait a minute, I should be doing this too. And so then I started reaching out to more people and I thought, okay, wait, maybe I could even run for office. And so I started to do more research about what that would take. And in 2021, I decided to take the leap and go ahead and run.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, our second question is, how has your life story influenced the values you bring to your role in public service?
Mhm. Well, I think that, we are all a collection of every experience that we've ever had. And I think that it influences us sometimes in ways that we don't even understand until we, pause and reflect. But I started in the foster care system and was adopted at an early age and have had some incredible opportunities. I've had some incredible opportunities to work with foster youth, to work with people who've been adopted, and then also to work with kids. And so, whether that was through my faith community growing up or, then as a teacher and a school principal later on. And I think a lot of that influences the way that I lead now and the type of policy that I am interested in and care about. So I care a lot about policies that are going to have generational impact. I want to know, how are things going to impact the health of kids and families, and then how are we going to help, empower people to have brighter futures. I had a lot of people support me to get me to where I am today, and so I want to make sure that I'm always paying that forward as well.
Amazing. So, our next question is what does representing your community mean to you personally?
Representing my community. To me, it really means listening to other people and taking in their opinions, even when it's different from my own, and making sure that I'm also getting out into the community. I can't just wait for people to call me or email me. I actually have to uh, make sure that I'm going to where people are. So whether that is to the churches, whether that's to other schools, whether that's to people's workplaces, to the pizza shop, to the coffee shop, wherever, I need to be out in the community to actually ask people what they need and what's important to them. And of course, knocking doors. I mean, I knocked 14,000 doors with my team, running for office, and I continue to do that. And that's really important too, to just literally go to where people are, meet them on their front porches, and make sure that I'm asking what they need.
Thank you so much. The next question is, what are some main issues you're most passionate about working on right now? Is there like a particular policy or bill you worked on that are especially proud of or that young people should know more about?
So I'm really proud of a piece of legislation. So one thing to know is that it can take 3 to 5 years to get a bill passed. which is really hard. And my first session, I was able to bring forward 7 bills, and 0 of them got a hearing, 0 of them got passed. And then my second session, we started to make a little more progress. I got a hearing on one, but then it ended up dying in the next chamber. And so last year, my third year in, I got a bill heard and passed that I was really passionate about. And I worked with one of my colleagues across the aisle, and it was about DNA data privacy. And so if you or anybody you know has ever done one of those little swab tests, you send it off in the mail, and then you find out, more about your DNA, we want to make sure that that data remains your own data forever, so that you can always say to the company, I no longer want you to store my data with my name attached to it, because technology is changing so quickly that we don't know all the information that could be extracted from that or how it will be used. And so we want to make sure that people own their own data forever, and can go to those companies in perpetuity. And so we were able to get a DNA data privacy protection bill passed, that I'm really proud of.
That's amazing to hear. Our next question for you is, how do you think youth like us can get involved in the local government or make a change locally?
Well, voting as soon as you turn 18, or that in the primary, as long as you are going to be 18 by the general election, the November election that year, you can actually vote in May if you're 17. So making sure that you know all of your rights, and sharing that with your friends, and making sure that everybody knows what's required so that you can vote. And then reaching out, because as elected officials, we don't only represent the people who vote for us. We represent everyone in the community, whether or not you can vote, meaning that we represent all of you as young people, and you are our bosses. We are responsible to the community. And so knowing that when you reach out to us through an email, through a Zoom call, coming in person for a meeting, sharing your story, sharing what you are passionate about, and sharing what you would like to see changed for the future is all so important. And so coming to do that, and then testifying on bills that impact you now, whether that's bills on education, especially as you all are looking to your next steps, what happens after high school. There have been a lot of bills that have to do with college education, with the way that our universities are funded, what types of courses can be taught. Those things matter to you now. And so coming in to testify about those, to speak on those, you all are the experts of looking at this for your future, and you should be treated as such. And so coming to the microphone to speak, is also very powerful.
As a woman, an educator in politics, how have you navigated spaces that haven't always reflected your background or experience?
Oh, let me tell you. Okay, so I think it was just like last week or the week before, I was sitting in my commerce committee meeting. We have an interim committee meeting, and I'm looking down this line, and there are like 12 of us sitting there. I was the only woman at the table on the committee, and I was the only person of color on the committee. And I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking, we are looking at policies that impact the entire commerce industry, like all of business. We were talking about licensing for different professions. Like, this is really important. It impacts every Hoosier. And so the folks at the table should reflect everybody in the state, and yet we don't. And so that type of representation is in my face all the time. I'm always thinking about it, and about then what's my role and responsibility as I'm asking questions to really think about the folks who aren't represented at the table, right? So whether that's people in rural communities, whether that's people who are in underrepresented populations, whether that's women, all of these different identities that kind of get brought forward. I'm constantly thinking about how I can continue to be a voice for each of those groups.
I think that's great because a main goal of Actify is trying to get people who are underlooked in like population to get more representation. And our
Mhm.
main goal is to try to get everybody to get into government legislation or even just speak out for your community. So I think that's just great that you're out here and just speaking for the people of Indiana.
Yeah.
And I think the other piece of that too is that I think sometimes people will look at women and think, well, they can only speak for women, or they will look at people of color and think, well, they can only speak for this minority group or this underrepresented group. But we don't think that way about men. We think like, well, we give them the right to make all types of laws for all types of different groups of people. And so I think that flipping that narrative too, I mean, there were people when I was running for my district. I have the most populated district in Indianapolis. I represent, it is one of the greatest money makers for the economy for the state of Indiana. Where I'm at, it's incredibly diverse, but people told me that I couldn't represent it because it's not a Black district. And I thought, well, wait a minute, what does that even mean? And what do you mean that I can't represent the Fortune 500 companies and the, areas downtown and the sports complexes and the homeless shelters and the like largest school district in the state? And like, why can't I represent all of those things that are part of my district? And why do you think that someone who is white and male would be better? And so really challenging those perspectives and those narratives, and trusting that people were going to vote, right? Because they did. I mean, there were 4 other people on the ballot when I ran that they could have voted for, but they chose me because they believed that I could do it. And so I think that also just reminding people that actually women and women of color are really good at convening folks. We're really good at connecting people, and we're really good at shaking up stagnant systems. And so really, I would vote for us any day of the week.
Okay, and finally, our last question is, if you could deliver a message to a young person who's listening to this, who thinks that I'm too young, my voice doesn't matter, or I don't see myself reflected in government, what would that be?
You hold the power to make the change. A small group of people is the only thing that's ever made change in this country. And you all, especially when you get together, have a powerful collective force. And so I would say show up, it matters. Research, it matters. If there's legislation that you want to see, bring it forward and don't wait. You all have power today. No one has to give you power. No one has to give you permission to stand in your power. You've got it.
Great. Thank you. That was good advice. One last question. So about our nonprofit, in the future, we're thinking about starting a gala event in the Carmel Library where we're at right now. And we're going to bring different legislators or influential figures to have like a Q&A session, speeches, and there'll be an audience of high school students who are also interested in getting into politics or just speaking out for the community. So would you be available to maybe do that?
Or like interested in
Absolutely.
participating in that?
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. And my advice to you on that would be just put a date on the calendar and make it happen. And I think especially when you're planning something for the very first time, just start small. I mean, all we need is a table and a couple chairs and invitations to send people out. You don't need anything else fancy. And so, yes, I'd be happy to come and to help in any way.
Thank
Sounds
you
good.
so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. And we want to thank whoever may be watching this in the future. Thank you for coming out and just kind of engaging and learning more about your local community and government. It's amazing to see. And I just want to thank once again Senator Andrea Hunley for being here today. It's an honor to have you here. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you all. Take care.